Everybody is sleeping on one 49ers player who is going to be a cornerstone this year. I'm going to be telling you all about it in this video. But first, we are live. And that means that if you're watching this after the live stream is over, you may choose to skip the opening 5 or 10 minutes of this video to get to the portion that you're actually clicking for. In about 5 or 10 minutes, we're going to be talking about that cornerstone player that everybody is sleeping on. Plus, we're also going to be talking about the wide receiver room, the depth chart. There's going to be some other stuff later in the episode you're not going to want to miss. So make sure you skip ahead if you're not interested in some of the get to know you time that we're about to have, starting with what's up, guys? Who's here? Let me know in the comments where you're watching from. Look forward to hanging out with you guys. I told you guys I wanted to do another live after last week and just have an opportunity to talk to you guys, get to know you, see where you guys are from, see what you guys are doing. And then we're going to get into the news today that I'm really excited to talk about, which is this sleeper that I genuinely believe is a cornerstone that the 49ers are going to have this year. So let me know if you're in the comments or in the chat, let me know in the chat how you're doing, where you're watching from, all that good stuff. And we'll be getting started with content in just a few minutes. We'll be getting to some of the news. We'll be talking about the wide receiver room a little bit as well. Later on in the episode, we'll also be talking about, let's see here. The depth chart. I want to look at 2 position groups in the depth chart. So we'll talk about that as well. My guy, Andrew, what's up, dude? Watching college football. Hey, that's actually one of my banner questions today is what are you watching? Or who are you watching? So let me know, Andrew, who are you watching right now? It's so good to have college football back. Absolutely. Absolutely love that take there, Andrew. Let me know who you're watching, man. What games are you interested in today? I know you're also a baseball guy, so you can be honest and say who's your team? Texas, right? Let me know in the chat, bud. Look forward to that. But everybody else too, where are you watching from? Who are you watching? Where are you watching from? Let me know in the chat. We'll get to actual news content stuff in a few minutes. Right now, Longhorn versus OSU. Are you a Longhorn guy? No, you're an Oregon guy. Oh, and LSU, right? Okay. Yes. Let's see. So we have right now you're currently watching. I get it now. It makes more sense. Yeah. Oh, Texas is your number 2. Boy, I don't know. Like I'm not a diehard college football guy. I love watching college football, but I've never had like an extreme affinity to particular teams. So you're going to have to tell me, Andrew, do people accept that you have of your favorite teams, Oregon, Texas, and LSU? Like, is that okay? Can you be a fan of those 3 teams at the same time? Or does that really bug people? Does that throw them off? Utah, George Gonzalez from Utah. Can't wait for the season to start. Let's go Niners. Absolutely. Yeah, we'll talk about it. Okay. Well, there you have it. Utah. I've been to Utah a few times. You know, I live in Colorado and have had many trips to California that ended up going through Utah, sometimes through New Mexico, but there you go. That's cool, man. 49ers fans are everywhere, and I have to actually zoom in on this here so I can look at it. So Utah, 49ers, or is that New Orleans right there in the middle? I can't tell. That could be a 49ers color. Yeah, that's definitely 49ers. That's cool. There's some 49ers fans over in Utah. You're not alone out there. That's awesome. So Andrew getting some hate from liking Oregon, Texas, and LSU. If you guys just hopped on here, I'm gonna be talking about some news in a few minutes, about 5 minutes or so. We get to some things that I think are gonna have you hyped as 49ers fans out there. New York, can't wait for the 49ers season to start. Absolutely. We are just 8 days away from the San Francisco 49ers taking on the Seattle Seahawks. Got to ask you, King of Kings, Z235. I'm curious. You're from New York. Tell me this, man. When you look at this current Seattle Seahawks roster, are you more scared of them this year than you were in the past? When I say past, I mean recent history. Obviously, there was an era of Seattle Seahawks that bothered the 49ers for a long time. like especially the Richard Sherman before he came to the 49ers days. Absolutely. But I'm curious. Let me know, King of Kings. Are you concerned about this? Because I'm hoping to set up an interview with an actual Seattle Seahawks content creator, because I really want to know, because I know how it sounds. So I want to hear like from somebody close to the issue if Seattle Seahawks is actually going to be a really good team this year, or if they're a little bit concerned. That's the thing that I haven't quite figured out. You know, the national media has big hype on Seattle, but they also are really down on the 49ers. So I'm not sure how much I can trust those perspectives. I think the Seattle Seahawks definitely made a step forward. I think everyone puts a lot of strength into this defense, and you know what their offense is going to look like. It's going to be pretty similar to what the 49ers have done in the past, offensively speaking, scheme-wise. However, I have major question marks around, one, if they can execute it, and two, if Sam Darnold can do it behind a less impressive offensive line. Sam Darnold could not do it incredibly well when the offensive line in Minnesota was not solid. They have a bad game. Sam Darnold had a bad game. So, and I think that's true to some extent across the vast majority of the NFL. There are definitely a couple quarterbacks who can do it with a bad offensive line, and there are plenty who cannot. So it's not throwing shade, but I'm just curious. Let me know in the comments, in the chat, if you feel like the Seattle Seahawks are actually going to be as tough as everyone is making them out to be right now. It's one of the beautiful things about football. You get it 3 weeks into the season, and all of a sudden you look at those teams, you're like, oh, I thought they were going to be amazing. What happened? I thought they were going to be amazing. What happened? And then you have one or two teams that you're like, ooh, I kind of thought they were going to be bad. Like, for example, the New Orleans Saints seemed to somehow find a way to look really good early on in the season, even though I kind of always know where it's going to end up and kind of how it's going to go. So anyway, let me know what you think on that one. We'll get started in about 3 minutes here. 3 minutes on some news that I'm really excited about. And I'm definitely going to need your guys' perspectives in the chat. You're going to have to let me know what you guys are thinking, because, oh man, this is super interesting. But if you're watching and you haven't told me where you're at yet, let me know. Let me know in the chat where you're watching from right now. And then when we get into a 49ers cornerstone player this season that nobody's talking about and everybody's sleeping on, including you potentially, I'm calling him a cornerstone player. And that's a statement I probably wouldn't have used to describe him even a week ago. But I genuinely believe he's going to be a really, really, really important player to this football team. And nobody's talking about him, except for one guy who recently wrote an article that had me thinking, oh boy, he's onto something here. I was excited about the pick, but I was excited about the trade, but I'm really excited. Free agency, not trade. You know what I'm saying? I was excited about it, but I have not given it enough credit. I'm going to give it more credit today. So we'll be talking about that as well. So let me know, of course, in the chat where you're at. We have Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Dude, this is, can it tell me, please, Ken, stay in the chat for a second and tell me about Calgary for a second. I have always wanted to go to Calgary. I've always heard great things about Banff. And so I've always wanted to go up there. I'm genuinely, my wife's laughing in the background because she knows I talk about it far too often. We actually did a trip to Canada this summer. We went up to Prince Edward Island. We did East Coast and then went up to Prince Edward Island. That was super fun. I'm curious though about Calgary. I've always wanted to go. Bon Iver has a great song called Calgary. So I've always been a little bit interested. And then Banff National Park, I've been told, and I live near the Rocky Mountains, so we've got some beautiful country over here. I have been told that Banff National Park is the most beautiful place on planet Earth. So you got to let me know, Ken. Don't leave me hanging on that one, because I would love to know. 1 minute, guys. 1 minute, and we're going to get into the news that you probably clicked on this video to find out. Appreciate you guys hanging out and letting me know where you're at in the comments. We have Texas over here. Katy, Texas. I have to assume that is a city, and it's probably a town I've never heard of before, because I've never heard of it before. So you're going to have to tell me where that's close to or whatever. I've driven through Texas several times. Been to Houston, the big cities or whatever, but I've never really been there. About Banff. Banff is beautiful. Famous for Calgary Stampede. Okay. There you go. Next to Houston. Okay, so I have been close to there then. I have been. What's good, Niner gang? Quest for the 6. We need this in our state. That would be incredible. It could not be any cooler than winning the 6th Lombardi and having the Super Bowl at your house. Like, that's just so cool. Very, very cool. All right, let's get into what you probably clicked on this video for. So, and I did want to ask you guys Labor Day plans. If you got any cool Labor Day plans, let me know in the comments. We're going to be barbecuing as always, but let me know if you've got some good Labor Day plans there. What's up, Joe? Welcome. Welcome, Joe. Welcome. All right, let's jump into it. I'm super excited about this. This is going to be great. This is a topic I would love to know your takes on this one. This one, okay. I did not see myself having this conversation with you today, but I have been convinced in the best of ways possible. Okay. Let's talk about this guy right here, Luke Gifford. Okay. Let's talk about Luke Gifford for a second. I know you're like, well, wait, what do you mean cornerstone? Stick with me on this because I think this is better than you think, but Luke Gifford signed as a special teams ace, as a guy who's coming in to be important in special teams. And we cannot undersell the importance of special teams. Absolutely cannot. We cannot do it. But also depth at linebacker. And there's some belief out there. Noah Furtado had a fantastic article on this. So I'm gonna go ahead and zoom in on this so I can actually read it. But I'm going to start with some of this article, and then we're going to chat on this as well. But I think this guy's going to be a cornerstone for the 49ers, and I think we're all sleeping on him. And I mean cornerstone primarily in special teams, which is important. The 49ers had one of the worst special teams in the league last year. It was a huge, huge problem. They go in, they get Brant Boyer. Brant Boyer starts going after his guys. Saran Neal, Luke Gifford starts going after guys he knows is going to hold down the fort on this special teams. Here is Noah Furtado on Luke Gifford. The San Francisco 49ers have consistently placed Gifford a one-year signing this past offseason, topped their unofficial depth chart at strong side linebacker. His reps during training camp practices and preseason games confirmed as much. Gifford could very well open the regular season as this team's Sam. That's your strong side linebacker, folks. Next to all-pro middle linebacker Fred Warner and D. Winters on the weak side. So, the 49ers, the way that they like to do their defense in base package, they've got 3 linebackers, okay? 4-3, you get it. But then when they're in the nickel, obviously that strong side guy is out, and you bring in your nickel corner, right? Well, Noah Furtado is suggesting that Luke Gifford might be your starting Sam to open the season. I don't know if that was on your expectation, one of your expectations or not. It was not for me. Defensive coordinator Robert Saleh said Gifford is not just a special teams guy. He can play defense too. There's a reason why he's been in the league for so long, and I think he's going to be in the league for a lot longer. We're thankful he's here. Gifford played 203 defensive snaps for Tennessee Titans last year, which was unusual for him. He played a lot more snaps on defense last year. That's a great opportunity for a vet who's now, 30 years old? So his previous career high was 41 snaps. I didn't even realize that was in the article. He opened the year on their practice squad, but was shortly thereafter signed to the active roster and appeared in all but one game. His single-season stats include 49 tackles, another career high, and 1 for loss with 2 pass deflections and an interception. When I really started to own it, that's kind of when my career took off and really gave me more opportunities on defense, Gifford said, because a lot of times you play well enough on special teams, a lot of that translates. But with new special teams coordinator Brant Boyer in place, Gifford knows his money will be made as a core 4 centerpiece, which means he'll be in all 4 phases of special teams. That's kickoff return, punt return, kickoff coverage, and punt coverage units. That is where he's going to make his money. That is where he's going to be an absolute cornerstone, but it's not going to stop in special teams. The 49ers ranked toward the bottom of the league in multiple special teams metrics a season ago, including yards allowed per punt return, 30th, and yards allowed per kickoff return, 24th. Not to mention giving up 2 successful fake punts, 1 block punt, and a kickoff return for a touchdown. One of just 6 teams that allowed 1 with the new rules limiting opportunities. Hence the firing of Brian Schneider, the hiring of Brant Boyer, and the signing of Luke Gifford. He's a 4-core guy. That's just a productive dude that's tough as heck and gets after people all the time, Brant Boyer says. We've played against him a bunch, and he always does a really good job. Guys like him fly under the radar a lot of times. After Gifford played in all three 49ers preseason games. Pro Football Focus assigned him an 88.4 defensive grade, an 86.3 coverage grade for a linebacker. That's pretty impressive. Both team high marks among Niners with at least 30 snaps played. And he has a chance to take some of that playing time on defense into the regular season. The biggest thing for me will always be dominating on special teams. That's how I've stayed in the league. So you've got a guy in Luke Gifford who knows his strengths. And let me know in the chat how you're feeling about this dude. Like, go ahead, throw it out there. But you've got a guy who shows up, has figured out his role is special teams, and by doing so has earned opportunities on the field as an actual beneficial defensive player for the Tennessee Titans last year. So now he comes to the 49ers, and you know the 49ers absolutely love linebackers. Like, I think if you were to go around the entire NFL, now I'm biased obviously, but if you go around the entire NFL and you say who has the best linebacking culture in the NFL, I would have to say the 49ers are top 5 on that list. Easily top 5. You have a guy like Curtis Robinson who turns down an opportunity to play for the Tennessee Titans because of how much he wants to learn from guys like Fred Warner and, in those days, Dre Greenlaw, who's now gone, obviously, Denver Bronco. If Andrew's still in this chat, he knows what I'm talking about. Dude's a dog, says Joe Cormack. Let's go, Joe. Let's go. That's what I'm talking about. Look, listen. As far as I'm concerned, I got other stuff I want to get to. I want to get to wide receiver stuff. We've got some new updates on that front. I want to get to some other things as well. Like, I don't want to only talk about Luke Gifford, but we cannot sleep on this guy. This guy is a valuable piece of the special teams puzzle that we desperately needed. All I asked last year, you guys know, if you know, you know. All I asked last year was please, special teams, just play middle of the pack, like simple, just do your job football. I don't care if we don't have massive plays on special teams. We don't need special teams right now, right this second. We don't need special teams to go and be anything special. We just need them to do their jobs. That's how bad last season was. If you just do your job and you just take care of business on that 1/3 of the game, then you have 2 other phases that the 49ers have incredible offensive coaching mind and incredible defensive coaching mind. You've got the rest of the game pretty well covered in terms of scheming and learning from mistakes and improving. By the end of the season, we're going to feel really, really good, I think, about both the offense and defense for this football team. I feel really good about that because you have incredible guys at the helm and you have great talent mixed around the team. Obviously, injuries can be a factor, but I think, when you look at what happened last year with injuries, and Nick Sorensen basically changed nothing after those injuries. Robert Saleh is not going to be like that. He's going to find other ways to scheme the right players into the right positions to affect the game. So special teams, all I need, dude, like just be solid. You get a guy like Luke Gifford and you go out of your way to bring him in. He's one of the quietly bigger moves of the opening free agency week. You didn't make a whole lot of moves there. You got Luke Farrell was the big move, and then you got a lot of guys who are special teams contributors. And this guy Gifford, everyone's sleeping on him, and I'm really excited about him. Okay, fair concern about his age, Papa J. Fair concern. He's 30 years old. I'm just not sure. His age 29 season, however, is the best season he's ever played in the NFL. So he's trending up. If you look at the stats, right? I know it's just stats. He has to go and he has to prove it on the field, but I trust him to come into this culture led by Robert Saleh. I trust him to come into this culture and find a way to contribute meaningfully. And the fact that his mentality is okay with him to just be a big special teams player. And that mentality has led to him getting opportunities on the defensive side of the ball. So I think that's pretty cool. You're not wrong. He is 30. And for a linebacker, for a Mike, you can go a little bit older sometimes, depending on who you've got around you and depending on how good your defensive line is. We've seen guys like Ray Lewis play much later than their prime because of how good that Elvis Dumerville, that defensive line was in those days. But that being said, I think that you can get a guy like Luke Gifford. Maybe he doesn't go to 34, 35, 36, but he's trending up, and he just had his best season he's ever had in the NFL. Maybe he has one more in him. I'd like to believe he does, or I'd like to at least believe that what he has in him is pretty darn good. That's where I'm at. Fair criticism, though. Thank you for sharing that in the chat. Please feel free to let me know what you guys think in the chat. But I want to talk about another guy, Kendrick Bourne. I had some heat on this one, surprisingly. I did not expect people to have some negative feelings about Kendrick Bourne coming back to the 49ers. People saying he's not good. I'm not sure what they mean by that. Now, if they mean he's not a wide receiver 1 or a wide receiver 2, then I understand where you're coming from on that one. But the 49ers are going to be meeting with Kendrick Bourne. They have him visiting on Monday. That's the newest information out there. We just learned that one yesterday. And this is a wide receiver room that, in my opinion, is looking in a much better position than they were looking just 2 weeks ago. Not that long ago, we were really, really concerned about this wide receiver room. And obviously the big question mark is around Jauan Jennings. I'm not trying to hide that. We talk about it probably too much on this channel. You guys are probably tired of hearing me talk about it. But that being said, let's talk about Kendrick Bourne for a second. We'll get to Jauan Jennings as well in a moment. But there's some negativity in the comments on Bourne saying he wasn't that good to begin with. And I kind of disagree with you, but I think even if you're right that he wasn't that good to begin with, I think it's because we're not evaluating properly where we see him fitting into this team. Kendrick Bourne is not, going to be sold a bill of goods on Monday that is, come in here and we'll make you our wide receiver 1. He knows what he's walking into. This is a team that in 6 weeks could have Brandon Ayuk back, Demarcus Robinson will be back, and then your next guy up is probably Ricky Pearsall and Jauan Jennings, assuming things get worked out, which I kind of feel like they will. Sort of feel like they will, but we'll see. So the 49ers are doing their due diligence in bringing this guy in here. Kyle Madsen said this about Kendrick Bourne. Bourne played a consistent role as a third receiver for the 49ers, but in 2018, he wound up being their number 1 wide receiver when injuries struck at the position, limiting Marquise Goodwin, Dante Pettis, Pierre Garçon to combined 31 games. San Francisco would be hoping for a similar contribution in 2025. He'd ideally slide into the number 3 wide receiver role alongside Jauan Jennings and Ricky Pearsall for week 1 and week 2 and week 3. But Jennings' availability for the season opener is still up in the air, while he deals with a calf injury and dissatisfaction with his contract. If Bourne at age 30 can step in and hold down the fort at wide receiver until reinforcements come by way of Demarcus Robinson and Brandon Ayuk, it could be a season-saving addition for the San Francisco 49ers. Now, I have that 2019 stats up on the screen. We didn't talk about 2018, actually. We talked about 2019 the other day, though, for those that were kind of feeling like he wasn't very good. And I look at his stats, I'm like, dude, for a guy who's a wide receiver 3, and we've seen a lot of different wide receiver 3s. Atlanta has one of them on their roster right now, Ray McLeod. We've seen a lot of wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4s who are kind of players that you ask to do a small job in the wide receiving game. This is a run-first offense. And beyond that, the 49ers like to spread the ball around. You don't ever know when Brock Purdy steps back into the pocket and he's holding on to that ball. You don't know who's going to get the ball. And that's part of the beauty of this offense. It gets spread out. So back in 2019, which would have been George Kittle's, is that his second year, third year, something like that? George Kittle has 85 receptions for 1,000 yards and 5 touchdowns. Kendrick Bourne has 30 receptions. So nearly a third of Kittle's receptions. And he goes for 358 yards. That's a respectable number, and 5 touchdowns himself. A helpful player in the red zone. Where did the 49ers struggle last year? In the red zone. Who is their go-to guy when they need somebody who has strong hands, even when he's not creating great separation? Who's the go-to guy? Jauan Jennings. If Jauan Jennings is not around, who ironically is kind of Kendrick Bourne's replacement in a weird way, but if Jauan Jennings is not around, who is your go-to guy on third down? Who is your go-to guy? I'm not saying Kendrick Bourne has to be that guy. We'll talk about the depth chart in a few minutes as well. But Kendrick Bourne is a guy who can and has shown he can be that guy. He's always been a guy that's in this 30-ish reception range. I think his highest ever was 48 receptions. That was the biggest contribution. So we're not talking about a guy who's a wide receiver 1 or 2. We're talking about a guy who knows where he stands on the depth chart. And the 49ers and the Commanders are the 2 teams that are in for him. And those are the 2 teams he's visiting with. Between the 49ers and the Commanders have Terry McLaurin, who's going to be week 1 ready. So he knows exactly where he stands on both rosters, I think. And I think if you're looking at it from a 49ers perspective, as long as he believes he has a role beyond week 6, I think he can side with the 49ers. There's a question out there. He might go with the Commanders considering his opportunities, and I would understand that. when you look at his entire season or his entire stat sheet, to be fair, I think he did have 1 year, 2021, his first year with the New England Patriots at 55 receptions for 800 yards. Yeah, that's really small on the screen. 5 touchdowns as well. So yeah, that's the kind of guy you're getting. Okay. I'm not trying to act like he's the most incredible thing in the world, but I do think he could be a value for the 49ers, especially as a hedge against whatever Jauan Jennings is doing right now. If Jauan Jennings does not, and let me know in the chat, like I'll pull the chat back up here. I've been talking for a little bit here, so I'll pull the chat up. But Joe, great point. Joe, great point. He can always flex to the practice squad. That's what you see with MVS right now too, right? Here's a guy who can be productive, who can do something for your team, but also it might not necessarily be from the 53 because those first couple of weeks, you have a little bit of flexibility there if you need to use it. So I think it makes a lot of sense, man. I think it makes a lot of sense. I like this guy. I don't think that the 49ers have to sign Kendrick Bourne. We'll look at the 53 in a second. I don't think the 49ers have to sign Kendrick Bourne to be successful this year, because he knows he's walking into a team who's your wide receiver 3, whoever they are, right? Your wide receiver 3 is not your target number 3. That's target number 5 for the 49ers. Because you got George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey. Those are massive targets for the 49ers, right? We just looked at the 2019 stats. George Kittle was your leading target. And then, of course, Ricky Pearsall is a guy, first-round draft pick. 49ers want to see him produce this year. And he has worked very, very hard this whole offseason, working with Brock Purdy, showing out in camp every single day. So, yeah, I can't wait to see Ricky Pearsall out there. Kendrick Bourne could be a nice addition. Let's talk about the 53-man roster, though. And I'll get to one more chat before I do that. Timothy with a great point here. Need extra players because injuries do occur. So keep a BUP, a.k.a. backup plan. There you go. Yes. Love it. KB wouldn't want to take a pay cut to be on the practice squad. That's a fair point. Fair point as well. Thank you guys for that in the chat. Appreciate your takes. I don't know what a player is willing to take. And will he have a better shot? When you look at like the depth chart for the Commanders goes downhill very fast, right? Once you get to like Luke McCaffrey, you're there, right? And basically Luke McCaffrey and McLaurin are the only 2 wide receivers they kept over from last year. So I think that is really interesting. Let's look at the San Francisco 49ers 53-man roster. This is the initial 53. I couldn't find a better graphic version of the like updated 53-man roster. So this is what I have right here. Okay. But, and if it's kind of small on the screen, you might need to blow that thing up, put it on a TV or something like that. But you have the most up-to-date practice squad. I've got a couple players on there too that don't really kind of fit because it's not 100% clear who's moved into where, how they've fit into this team. Like MVS originally makes the practice squad, but he's not listed on the practice squad now, he is on the 49ers website, but he's not per Noah Furtado. So I'm not 100% sure how all that works out, but I want to talk about 2 position groups. Let's first look at the wide receiver because we were just talking about. So in the wide receiver route, you have Jauan Jennings, who I'm still assuming is somehow going to work something out with the 49ers. I still assume that's the case. We don't know that for sure. Ricky Pearsall, who's going to be super important, and I really need him to stay healthy. He did stay healthy. Like, people don't talk about this enough. He did stay healthy through a lot of NFL hits and a lot of NFL reps for the vast majority of the season. And obviously nobody holds the shooting against him. That's not his fault. You cannot hold that against a player. But he did come into camp a little banged up. And then he got banged up in this year's camp. And people started to get worried. Like, can this guy handle it? Can this guy handle playing at this level? And I think we need to give him a little more grace on that because he did handle it throughout the majority of the second half, throughout all of the second half of the season, basically. He did handle taking hits, NFL hits, and his body was able to hold up to it. So I think we're sleeping on how good he can be. But Jacob Cowing, that one, there's a question mark there, obviously. Sky Moore, I'm not sure he's going to be, I don't think he can be a wide receiver 3. I'm not so sure he can be a wide receiver 3. I like the pickup. I like the punt return. I like that benefit. I don't know if he can, I think he can contribute on a small level. And I would say what we saw in the preseason game was not a great indication of what he can do, but he'd only had 1 day to learn the playbook. So that didn't exactly help his case either. And then Jordan Watkins is a guy the 49ers like a lot more than I think they thought they were going to after everything that's happened so far. And he's supposed to be somewhere around week 1 ready, which is a good sign. But he's a rookie, and he's learning Kyle Shanahan's system. And you know how Shanahan is really hard on wide receivers. even if they're really good in preseason. A case in point is Jacob Cowing. Jacob Cowing was really good in preseason last year, hardly sniffed the field. And Brandon Ayuk was not playing well, and then he got injured. And Jacob Cowing still had a hard time getting on the field. Russell Gage is a guy that I think the 49ers are pleasantly, I don't know if I'd say surprised, but they're very happy with how he produced in training camp, what he was able to do. So assuming he can be healthy, I think Russell Gage could be a massively valuable addition to this team. He could play that wide receiver 3 role. Absolutely. So again, like I said, Kendrick Bourne, the 49ers don't need Kendrick Bourne on this team in order to be successful, especially in those first opening 3 games. But he would be a welcome addition. If you look at the wide receivers on the practice squad, you have Robbie Chosen there, who did a good job to, especially week 2 and week 3, to make the practice squad. Junior Bergen, he's kind of your backup punt returner, I suppose. That's kind of what they brought him in for. And Malik Turner, I thought he had a nice, at least from what I remember, he had a nice game in the week 3 preseason game. Now let's switch topics for a second and talk about linebacker. And let me actually check the chat real quick to see if someone on there wants to say something. Truly feel Russell Gage will help the team. Yes, couldn't agree more. Absolutely. Ricky will be a star. Agree, Joe. Agree. After 3 games, we'll know what we have. Leroy, my man, Leroy. Leroy was like the top commenter on this channel for like pretty much forever. He's kind of always been the top commenter. Appreciate you, Leroy. And you know what? You're absolutely right. This is what I love about football. I said this like 20 minutes ago. One of the things that's so great about football is you get into this situation where you think you know who's good and who's bad. You think you have that figured out. And then 3 weeks into the season, all of a sudden you're looking at teams that you like that's why I want to know what you guys think about Seattle Seahawks. Are they actually going to be a really good team this year? Because everybody believes they are. Like, people believe they could win the NFC West this year and top the NFC West. So are they really going to be that good? Have they really made that leap forward? Is Sam Darnold really going to be that massive piece that changes everything for them? I know he's not the only guy that they brought in, but you get what I'm saying. Can Sam Darnold handle playing on a weaker offensive line? Minnesota's offensive line was pretty stout last year. So those are all question marks I would love to know. And I think after week 3, Leroy's point holds up. You're going to know. You're going to know after 3 weeks how good these teams are. And you'd be like, oh, I thought the Cardinals were going to be better this year. Oh, I thought the Seattle Seahawks were going to be better this year. We'll see, right? So I want to know. But yes, fair point from Leroy. Always trying to keep us from getting too ahead of ourselves in the comments there. Appreciate that. Let's see here. As usual, fans are shocked. Wide receiver 3 is a very important position, just as slot cornerback is on many teams. Run predominantly 3 receiver sets. Parsons just set the cost of living increase. This is an interesting perspective. I'm not sure I totally agree in the sense that I think the 49ers, yes, 3 wide receiver sets are incredibly common. I get it, right? Spread, got it. Okay. But also the 49ers love to run 2 running back sets, right? They love to have a fullback in there, Kyle Juszczyk in there. And so they do often end up running with 2 wide receivers as well. So it is important. I agree with you. I'm not saying it's not important, but I would say that there's also more to it than that. I think Robbie Chosen will be week 3 by game 2 or 3, in my opinion. Wide receiver 3, excuse me. I'm not even reading that. That's a really interesting take. I don't know. There's a lot of guys ahead of him on the depth chart as I have it, but that's an interesting take. I'm definitely curious on the thoughts on that. CJ West is going to bulldoze centers, and defense this year will be dangerous. I love that take because I do believe that all of our rookies the game's going to be fast. It's going to be fast for a little while. It's going to take a while for them to get ready. But CJ West has impressed a lot of people. He's one of those rookies that could be a genuine contributor this year. Absolutely. Alfred Collins, people are sleeping on him. I'm really excited about Alfred Collins. I still think he's going to have a ways to go. He's probably not even going to be your starting guy. But I do believe he's going to be valuable when he can get up to speed for sure. And Leroy, fair point. Always a dogfight with Seattle Rams. More than it should be, by the way. More than it should be. Last year, Jauan Jennings has the best game of his life. And there's no reason the 49ers should not win that game. And one of the things that you love about Jauan Jennings is the fact that after that game, when the 49ers lose, and you can look at special teams are to blame in that game. You can look at Ronnie Bell, who's to blame in that game. You can point fingers or whatever. But Jauan Jennings comes off that game, off the best game of his life, and he's disappointed that they lost. That's that mentality you absolutely have to respect and love. Let's talk linebackers real quick before we jump here, because this is another position grouping I think is massively underrated in the NFL right now. Fred Warner. Obviously, nobody underrates Fred Warner. I don't think anybody underrates Fred Warner. You'd be stupid to do that. Fred Warner's the best linebacker in the league. And even if you're a fan of a different team, you at least respect that he's in the top 3, like something like that. But then you have Tatum Bethune, great tackler in college. I'm really excited about what we've seen from him. Took a step up in preseason. Luke Gifford, who I think is going to be, I don't know if he's a starting Sam. Noah Furtado thinks he could be the starting Sam this year. That would be interesting for sure. But I definitely think he's going to be massively valuable to your special teams. Nick Martin, who took leaps and bounds from week 1 to week 3. So I love the pace that guy's learning. He's learning fast. And a lot of people believe that he was going to be challenging D. Winters for that weak side spot this year, which I think is interesting in itself, that's genuinely how much you believed in this guy. And he's shown to be better than expected in tackling in open space. That's something that you have to, open field tackling is not an easy thing to be good at, right? That's something that players have to work on when they get into the NFL. These are bigger dudes. They're faster dudes. The game moves quicker. It's harder to read plays. So I'm really excited about Nick Martin. And then, of course, D. Winters, who has impressed everybody in training camp and into the preseason. People have just been talking about him since OTAs, about how he has taken a step up. Maybe that's just players and coaches just talking a guy up. Maybe we have to see it, right? Leroy will remind us all that we have to see it before we can believe it, right? They got to prove it on the field in a regular season game when it really matters. I'm with you there, man. And then we got guys like Curtis Robinson that are currently on the practice squad. But huge that we managed to keep guys like Curtis Robinson around who are also ascending players. Curtis Robinson, not just an ascending player this year. He was an ascending player last year. Could have been a starting role. Definitely on special teams. Massive, massive hit to the special teams to lose him all of last year. But he was an ascending player before, and he's continuing to ascend now. So I'm really excited about Curtis Robinson, of course, as well. Some folks have commented on previous YouTube videos talking about how important Jalen Graham could be. And so there you go. There's another practice squad guy that you love having out there. So there you have it. Let's see here. A few more chats we got to get to before we run today. But I'm feeling really good about it. Everybody is underrating Gifford, Bethune, Winters, Martin too. Fair. A lot of angry beef on the defensive line. I just hope we see production as when Buckner and Armstead was up front. Man, I don't know if we're going to have that. Definitely not at the beginning of the season. But yeah, of course, who would not love to see that? I don't think you have like-for-like replacements in those players. I mean, you don't even have 2 guys that are that exact size. But CJ West plays bigger than his size. He plays even bigger than he is. He's a big dude, but he plays even bigger. And Alfred Collins is a monster of a man. Different kind of build a little bit than like a DeForest Buckner. But yeah, I love that take. I love the take. D. Winters will be ready to fill the loss of Greenlaw. Have faith in him. I hope so, man. I really do. Because last year I was really high on D. Winters, and I felt like there were moments where he could have taken that role from Devondre Campbell. And it's harder to come in, I imagine. I don't know this for sure, but I imagine it's harder to come in as a Sam and be in and out and in and out and in and out. And there were moments that's where D. Winters spent some time. But I really believed in him, and I felt like there were some moments where the game was a little bit faster for him. And so he maybe needed that one more year. But I think this is the year, man. Timothy, I agree. Winters is ready to take that spot. Let's go. What am I looking at here? Like a hamburger, 21, $10, 25, $14, and 10 mil is now 14 million, and 15 mil is now 20 million. Whether Niners used 3, that is the cost. Personally, I'd trade him before the money kick Monday. Who are you talking about trading? Let me know who you're talking about trading. One more comment there. A shutdown defense who will be stingy on points, under 14 points per game, and shutouts with solid. Let's go. And that's a great way to kind of close out what we're talking about here, because we've been talking about this roster for a long time, and we have not done a good enough job talking about who? Talking about Robert Saleh. Man, what a huge impact he's going to have on this linebacker core. What a huge impact. I genuinely believe it. Like, tell me another team that has as good of a linebacking culture as the 49ers have had over the last decade and a half, 2 decades. I mean, come on. The culture here is fantastic. The expectation here is fantastic. And we know what we expect out of a 49ers linebacker. We know what the expectation is. And Fred Warner sets the bar incredibly high. Best linebacker in the league. And so everybody gets to learn from these guys. On top of that, you have a great offensive mind that's playing against you all the time. So I do rate defensive or linebackers for the 49ers to always have a leg up against a lot of similar schemed offenses because of how much they have to do in coverage, how much they have to do, like just in practice in general. They're playing against a really good offense, a really dynamic offense, the ability to run the ball, the ability to catch the ball, the ability to catch the ball from a running back, the ability to have your fullback get out there in a position to catch the ball and score touchdowns last year. I mean, like, this is a tough offense to have to go against. My goodness. Good question about JJ. So I think that's what you're talking about in terms of the millions out there. If you're talking about JJ, would you trade him above average center only? I just don't know if you can actually get genuine trade capital for Jauan Jennings. Are there any teams out there? Let me know in the chat, for real. Are there any teams out there who actually right now in this moment are like, I would trade for Jauan Jennings and I will pay him what he wants? Is anybody out there willing to pay Jauan Jennings 20 plus million right now? Now, if you're the 49ers, obviously, you know, like the number that someone asks for is never the number they actually get. So I get it. Like, he could be asking for 22, 23, 24 million and actually only be hoping to get 17 and a half or whatever. But the 49ers are in a tough spot to pay him anything more than like 13, 14, maybe 15, because then you're setting a precedent. Then you're telling future players, yeah, do exactly what Jauan Jennings did, but you also have the impact on the culture of the team. To pay him big money is a huge, or to not pay him is a big risk too. There could be a huge negative impact there. Without JJ, we are cooked in the wide receiver room for at least the first 3 games. We can't afford to lose those games. Let me agree and disagree. I will agree that the 49ers can't afford to lose those first 3 games. Absolutely not. 49ers have to go out of there. You've got 2 road games and a home game. You have to come out of those 3 games 2-1 for sure. At the very least, you have to come out 2-1. And the New Orleans Saints with Spencer Rattler, if you lose to Spencer Rattler and the New Orleans Saints, I know they have other guys other than Spencer Rattler. I mean, I know they have actual talent on their team. I'm not trying to hate, but come on, you can't lose to those guys. You can't go into New Orleans and lose that game, in my opinion. You have to win that game, no matter how good they look, no matter how good individual players might be. You cannot lose that game. So I agree with you that. I will disagree, though, that the 49ers wide receivers are absolutely cooked if they don't have Jauan Jennings. I'm not trying to downplay how important Jauan Jennings is. He's massively important. Like, I agree with you in the sense that he is hugely important to the 49ers. He's more important than I think people are giving him credit for. Once we find out that he's reportedly asking for over 20 million, a lot of people are like, just get rid of him. Get rid of him. He's gone. I'm not there. Okay. I think he's really important to this team. I think you have to remember how long it takes for a wide receiver to come up to these schemes. That's why Kendrick Bourne is exciting, because Kendrick Bourne can come in and he knows the scheme. He can jump straight in. Sky Moore, on the other hand, shows up and he's got multiple drops in his first preseason opportunity. Granted, because he only had 1 day, but because it's going to take time. It's going to take time for these guys to get up to speed. So I will not say that. I think it's a fair point. Like, if the 49ers look different without Jauan Jennings, I wouldn't be surprised by that. He's massively important to this team. But the big value of Jauan Jennings is he knows this offense and he can catch the ball. I mean, he can really catch the ball. He has incredible hands. That's the big asset. And that's why he's your 3rd down guy. That's why he's 3rd in Jauan, because you can throw to him even in coverage, and he's often not creating incredible separation. He doesn't have lightning speed. He never did, but he can catch the ball through contact, which is something you massively rate. So, yeah, I'd love to have Jauan Jennings here. I still think, like, my gut, if I had to put money on the line, I would still bet that the 49ers figure out a way to keep Jauan Jennings on this team. I think what they need to do right now, to be totally honest with you guys, they need a save face contract. They need to go to Jauan Jennings and they need to say, look, we will give you this much more money just so that you can feel like, you can, in front of the locker room, in front of your family, in front of your friends, whatever, you can be like, yeah, look, see, I got my money. But that's a big ask for a team that just paid you a contract that he was elated about just a year ago. And he was coming off of like 35 receptions the year before in 2023. So that's a tough situation for the 49ers. 14 million is good with incentives to get to 20. That's a great way to think about it, Leroy, to say, let's give him a bump, but let's increase incentives. Now, if you are, maybe Leroy knows all this and that's why he's saying this, but Leroy makes a really brilliant point, because the incentives right now for Jauan Jennings, he's already reached his max incentives. That's the report. So he's already reached all of the extra money he can earn because last year he became such an important player. And that's why you do those contract incentives. So can you maybe even shift some of those incentives that you might give him toward guaranteed money? Say, we'll guarantee you a little more money on the top right now, and we'll add some new incentives going forward where you could earn up to that level. I don't know if he would take that deal, but he should take that deal. I think so. Fair point from Leroy on the Jauan Jennings injury situation. I don't think he's actually as injured as it kind of feels like he is, because that's what the 49ers are doing. I'll tell you, I think the 49ers played this perfectly. They did a really good job of not putting Jauan Jennings in a tough spot. I think Jauan Jennings has been really respectful too. Like, he's not doing what Brandon Ayuk did last year. He's not making drama. He's not causing a big scene, but he is expecting his money. He is asking for his money. He has every right. Every player has every right to ask for that new contract if they feel they've earned it. And like, who am I to say, to pocket watch and say he can't ask for more money? But to be fair, Jauan Jennings did have some kind of a calf injury. Like, that's legit. Like, I don't think they can just say that and it's not true at all. I don't think it's completely made up. But I do, there is a point with how long he has not been playing that there's a concern there for sure. We will push without Jennings, and someone else hungry will become a star. That's an interesting one. I mean, when you say someone else who's hungry, tell me who you think, Timothy. Who are you talking about? I'm not disagreeing with you, by the way. Who's that other person? Who is that guy? Look at this squad right now. Is that Russell Gage? I think Russell Gage could be that guy. He's shown up pretty well, had a great season in Atlanta before he got injured. So I think there's definitely a possibility he could be that guy. We need to see it in the regular season with this roster, with this team, but I think these are all fair points. Fair points. Any final thoughts? Let me know in the chat where you guys are at, what you're doing, Labor Day, whatever you're thinking. I look forward to seeing what you guys have to say about this one. But as far as I'm concerned, my attention, and so is yours, outside of college football being on, the attention's turning to this team right here, the Seattle Seahawks, in 8 days' time. 8 days. And the Seattle Seahawks and the 49ers are going to meet up in Seattle. It's going to be an interesting game. We're going to learn a whole lot about how many of these rookies, Marquise Siegel, Nick Martin, maybe. We'll see how much playing time he gets. But Marquise Siegel for sure, I believe he's getting playing time. Upton Stout, he's getting playing time. We're going to see, of course, Mykel Williams, CJ West probably. There's that injury. He should be good for week 1. We're going to be seeing maybe a little Alfred Collins here and there. I'm sure that the team is going to want to get tape on as many of these guys as they can. And so they will be rotating and giving opportunities. Hopefully, you got like Yetur Gross-Matos back in there as another versatile player on that defensive line. But we're going to learn a lot about this team, and we're going to learn a lot about the Seattle Seahawks, who we will not play until the very, 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 very end. Sorry, Nate, watching the Vols game. Respect it. Time for unknown talent to step it up. We found Purdy from the bench. Now he's here. That's a great take. Great take. Love it. Demarcus Robinson and Ricky going to put in work. I think Parag Marate will pull miracles to keep JJ happy in the 49ers, and they would be great to do it. They've pulled some miracles this offseason. No drama offseason outside of Jauan Jennings, and even that, I don't really feel like is super intense drama, so massively love that. Appreciate you guys for watching the stream, for getting in the comments, for making the chat. This is super fun. I just wanted to see, let's just hang out for a little while. I usually spend a good 45 minutes planning and recording and stuff. So why not just do this together and hang out together now and then? Super fun. For those of you that didn't get a chance to watch the entire show, I will cut up some segments there and I'll post those so that you guys can catch the pieces you might have missed, or you're welcome to go back through the live stream, of course, if you want to do a little bit of digging there. That's fine. You could do that, but appreciate you guys. I hope you guys have a fantastic Labor Day weekend. Get out there and barbecue, relax, get some rest, take a break. I'll be doing that, watching football, of course. Got some college football I need to watch later too. I'm stoked about it. Joe, thank you. Appreciate you, man. And I'll throw it up there. I'll throw it up there because why not? Because I can. Love your show. Appreciate it, Joe. Appreciate your comments. Always appreciate your takes as well. All of you guys, appreciate you guys coming on there. You guys are awesome. Awesome. You guys are super. Nate, thanks for your content. You are genuine with this bless. Cool. Peace out, man. Appreciate you guys. Have a fantastic one.